So some of the later games we have coming up, something I would keep an eye on throughout the college football season that was extremely profitable throughout the year for me last year was in games where you have massive point spreads. If you see line movement on the underdog, you should bet them. That was really profitable for me last year, and we have that in Clemson and Troy today, where Clemson opened up as a 33.5-point favorite. Now they're all the way down to 30.5 on BetMGM, and I think it makes sense. Again, Clemson's coming off that big emotional game against LSU last week. They're on the road against Georgia Tech next week, so a sandwich spot, letdown spot, potentially looking ahead. And I've been trying to tell you guys all offseason, if you've listened to my show, send it in here on the BetMGM network, which you can catch 1 p.m. Eastern time, Mondays through Fridays. I've talked about how Cade Klubnik is overrated. People this year that were betting Clemson to win the national title, thinking this guy should be in the Heisman contention, the Heisman conversation. If you erase the Texas playoff game from last year, where he absolutely played his best game as a Clemson Tiger, against SEC teams in his career, he has zero, or in his last 4 games, 0 touchdowns, 7 interceptions for Cade Klubnik in his last 4 games against SEC opponents. Does that sound like a quarterback that Clemson's going to win the national title with? Does that sound like a guy who's going to win the Heisman Trophy? Now, they absolutely can win the ACC. They did it last year with Cade Klubnik, so they definitely can do that. But people, big picture on Cade Klubnik, not buying it. Troy's got a pretty good defense. And again, with Georgia Tech upcoming next week, I like Troy, plus the 30.5 against Clemson. What about Ole Miss and Kentucky? I got a couple bets on this game that I kind of think are correlated. I like the under 50.5, and I also like Kentucky plus 9.5 against Ole Miss. These games tend to be close between these two teams. Lane Kiffin has not been good in SEC openers, especially on the road. He has struggled. And we saw a theme last week, right? A lot of these young quarterbacks going on the road, playing in some big games, how they struggled. I like Austin Simmons a lot this year. Ole Miss's quarterback, he is super talented, but I am a little bit concerned about what they could potentially look like today on the road against a good Kentucky defense. I think Kentucky is the worst offense in the SEC. Their quarterback, Zach Calzada, threw for 85 yards last week against Toledo. So I do not think that Kentucky's going to light up the scoreboard, but I do think that they're going to keep it close. I think this is going to be a low-scoring game. Feels like 20-17, 17-13 to me. I'll take the under, and I'll take Kentucky to keep it close. Kansas and Missouri should be a really interesting game today. Missouri's laying 5.5 at home against Kansas with the total of 49.5. This is a great rivalry game. These two universities, fan bases do not like each other at all. And Kansas has been taking a little bit of money. Missouri was a 7-point favorite earlier in the week. Now they are down to 5.5. I like the under in this game. And you've seen it move from 50.5 to 49.5. Missouri's got one of the best defenses in the SEC. They were great last year, and they returned 9 starters from that defense. Offensively, meanwhile, they bring in Bo Prabula from Penn State, who was Drew Aller's backup the last couple of years. Very talented athlete, very good runner. The question is, what's Prabula going to be as a passer? And he showed some flashes in their Week 1 game, but now we get a little bit of a step up in competition going up against Kansas today. So I like the under in this game because Kansas, their offense hasn't been as impressive as I thought maybe it would be, with Jalen Daniels coming back for another year and being their quarterback. Defensively, though, pretty decent. And I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen the first couple games. So I like under 49.5. Again, rivalry game. It's going to be physical, nasty. Taking the under 49.5. I also like Rutgers minus 14.5 today against Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is a team that I am looking to fade early on this season. They lost 17-0 in Week 1 against Wisconsin. They crossed the 50-yard line one time. They do not have a single starter returning from their team last year, and before the Wisconsin game, only a combined 3 starts for them on the offensive line. Now they're going up against a Rutgers team whose offense looked pretty good against Ohio University, but Parker Navarro and the Bobcats shredded Rutgers, and that's not going to happen today. With a retooled, revamped Miami of Ohio offense that's still trying to figure themselves out, feels like Rutgers is going to win this game like 31-7 to me, so I like them minus 14.5. And then we also got Navy. I laid the 21 with them today against UAB coming up at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. UAB last week gave up 520 total yards to Alabama State. 520 yards to FCS Alabama State. Nearly gave up 5 yards a carry, 220 yards on the ground. Well, now you got to face Navy, who obviously is one of the best running teams in college football, led by Blake Horvath. So I think Navy's going to be able to score a bunch of points in this game, get enough stops on UAB. I'll take Navy minus 21 against the Blazers. And then the other game I like coming up middle of the day today is going to be Florida and South Florida. Gators 18.5-point favorites today against USF. Now, a lot of people saw USF dominate Boise State last Thursday. A bunch of us thought Boise State would be one of the best group of five teams in college football. They obviously were in the playoff last year. We knew they were going to miss Ashton Genty. I don't know if we knew they were going to miss him that much. They looked inept. They didn't look like they could do anything offensively. So I think that game was more about Boise. I think USF is a good team. I like their quarterback Byron Brown a lot, but I am concerned for USF today going up against Florida. Florida's roster is super talented. NFL players all over the field. One of the best quarterbacks in college football in DJ Lagway. Think it's a trap taking USF today. People are going to see what they look like against Boise. It's a big number. Florida's the real deal, and I think they win this game by 3 or 4 touchdowns today. I like the Gators in a rout. I laid the 17.5. I still like it at 18.5 today. So that's what I like in some of those middle games that we have upcoming today in college football. Addy Bates, was there anything that you liked today in the middle slate of college football? Oregon, Oregon State, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Kansas, Missouri, Florida, South Florida, anything that you bet today?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go against you on this one. I like the over in Kansas and Mizzou. I feel like the 2-0 start for Kansas, they were 77-14. Yes, maybe they didn't look that great, but 80% pass completions. I feel like the over is a safe bet on that one for me. So that's the only one I think that I went against you on.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. And that's the beauty of this show. You know, we disagree on bets. Some people like the over, some people like the under. I'll ride with the under today.